Hi, so a lot of you may have seen my last video, and I said I would show you some techniques in my next one. And seeing as I do a lot of kinds of art, different kinds of art, I have a lot of different techniques. So I'm going to just start from square one at charcoal, like I was talking about earlier. And like what a lot of you may have first discovered me for when I went through like my big charcoal series and did everything that I did. Because after I left school, I went through like this phase of just going back and going to the basics. And actually, a friend of mine, or a boyfriend of a friend of mine, actually told me once that when you leave art school or when you graduate or whatever, a lot of times you have to go back and break all the rules and do everything over again, which is what I did. So, so we have the charcoal pencil. You can use all kinds. There's different kinds, and I prefer to use extra soft because you can easily, like, you can easily wipe away at it. So basically, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna draw a little bit, and it's not gonna be anything fucking like spectacular, but it'll give you like an idea of like what I'm doing. And as you see, you use your fingers. Don't ever be afraid to use your fingers. And use value. Like this is what you do is I just basically, I don't even think you can see it here, but I go really, really light. And I'm just going to talk to you while I do this because it's really hard to hold the thing up and draw at the same time, but I will show you the different stages. So, currently I am visiting family in Seattle. I live in New York usually, and I've been living in New York on and off for 2 years, and I love it there, but it's really hard. It's hard to live there. It's extremely expensive, and as me, as you can tell from my art, I am very, very inclined to be a forest, kind of a forest creature, foresty type of girl. So it's because I grew up in Washington State, and I am always near the forest. I live right next to a really beautiful national park, like right next. Like, I mean, I can just walk down the street in a minute. So it's like, basically, I really feel that, here we go. So I basically, see if it's close up. I started doing like really lightly, and you just basically what I do is I do these like little lines and what have you, and it works out. And basically, no, right now I'm like working on some oil paintings, and I'm gonna finish soon, I hope. I really went back and reevaluated a lot of my techniques because there was one thing I had an issue with oils was basically it was like color theory, skin tones, and things like that, and also like getting that life, getting that depth that I wanted, that I was getting in my drawings, I just wasn't getting in my paintings. So I really went back and really started researching. I have several favorite painters. I don't really know who. It's hard because a lot of the painters I like are really, really different. But since we're talking about drawings today, I'll say that one of my favorite artists that really used some simple materials that are quite cheap was Egon Schiele, and I really love his work. I like how he made women look. He wasn't afraid of sickness, you know. He wasn't afraid of things being a little bit ugly or messy, or life being a little bit, because life is like that. Life is, if you can find beauty in the mess, I mean, it's really, there's something to be said for it, you know. And so I prefer Egon Schiele over a lot of artists and a lot of modern artists today. For that reason, I feel like there's a really wonderful resurgence thanks to the internet of some really beautiful art, and also some, you know, access to things that you might not have seen in the past. People can promote themselves. It's great, you know. There's so many just amazing artists out there right now, and young, old, a lot of people finding their voices in different mediums. I'm not someone to tell you about digital work because I don't really I don't have a tablet, and I've always been a very tactile person, and so and a lot of my work is quite small, as someone pointed out to me, but it's because I travel a lot, so I need to be able to carry it with me where I go, and um, I like being able to have my sketch pad with me wherever I go, and just to start drawing, like when I'm in like a train station or an airport or what have you. So basically, that is what I like to do. But yeah, I feel like each place that I go, I am like a new person, where I find like a different layer of myself. And so I feel that when I am doing art, it really shows if I've traveled or if I've gone somewhere new. Like when I went to China, I became obsessed with color. And I went through this phase of like constantly like using color in really weird ways, like using watercolor washes, and I just became obsessed. That trip really changed my life in a lot of ways, in ways that I actually didn't really process until like I'd say about 2 or 3 years later. Because I was really young, I was like just turned 20, and I don't think that a lot of things really registered with me as I was perceiving them until later. And I feel like that's the way a lot of life is. So it's made me be a little bit more patient with myself and with other people. Um, and then once I realized that that is how things can be. But sometimes you discover something and it sits in your head. You know, it sits in your head subconsciously for a long time. You don't even know it's there, and you find its influence all over everything you're doing. And you don't even know why. You're looking at it and you're like, I have no idea how this happened, and it's just because things it's how life is. It's kind of amazing, and how